Greetings, Guardians. This is Olympus Alliance, and today we're answering the question everyone keeps asking: has Somna truly taken the crown from Lian as the Dominion's Queen of Control? Lian built her legend with charm. She turned rage into regret and made melee carries punch their own team. But Somna arrived with sleep, with drowsiness, and with the most humiliating debuff in Hero Wars, Alliance, the sheep. She doesn't just stop you, she rewrites the fight. So let's break it down with real mobile mechanics, and by the end you'll know exactly why Somna is the better pick for most modern battles, and where Lian still shines. First, let's set the stage with their kits, clean and simple. Lian brings Enchantment, a mass charm ultimate that flips the entire enemy team into friendly fire mode for a few seconds. She backs that up with Hypnotic Ball, a pass-through magic blast that hits on the way out and back, Wandering Lights, seeking orbs that pressure the nearest enemy, and Conciliation, her passive that charms whoever damages her for a brief moment. Lian's identity is crystal clear: reactive crowd control that punishes aggression and snowballs when enemies keep hitting into her team. Now Somna? She opens with Lullaby Veil, a wave that puts enemies to sleep. While asleep, enemies do nothing: no attacks, no casts, no energy gain, and when they're woken by damage, they gain a stack of drowsiness for a short time. Drowsiness isn't just flavor text, it actively weakens physical attackers, reducing their physical damage, and, via her kit, Under Drowsy Blessing also reduces their armor penetration, so their follow-up hits sting less. Her Drowsy Blessing buffs the nearest ally so their basic attacks apply drowsiness on hit. With more Way of Mystery allies, those stacks last longer, giving your team a wider control window. Then comes the headline move, Curse of the Wall. It deals damage in an area and adds drowsiness, and if a target reaches 3 stacks, they are transformed into a sheep for a few seconds. Sheep do nothing. They panic and flee. They can't cast. They can't attack. And once they've been sheeped, they get a short immunity to being sheeped again, but the damage is done. Finally, Silence of the Sheep ties her whole identity together. When Somna is hit, she immediately slaps 3 stacks of drowsiness onto the attacker and instantly sheep transforms them. It's a built-in booby trap: strike Somna, and you might become wool. Charm versus sleep and sheep. Reactive trickery versus proactive shutdown. That's the heart of this comparison. Let's talk battlefield timing, because this is where Somna starts to pull ahead. Enchantment is powerful. Charm windows tend to be cut short as O chips the enemies awake, or a single misplaced hit frees a carry. You'll still get value, enemies lose tempo, they spin and swing at their own line, but the control can unravel fast in chaotic fights. Lullaby Veil, by contrast, is pure interruption. You choose your moment, drop sleep across the team, and buy guaranteed seconds of silence. Even when a sleeping enemy wakes from a stray hit, you've traded that wake up for a drowsiness stack, future pressure baked in. Somna always walks away with value: either you get silence time, or you get drowsiness that weakens the next exchange, or both. Now lay a Drowsy Blessing on top. Because it buffs the nearest ally to apply drowsiness on basic attacks, you can deliberately position Somna near a fast-hitting teammate, a bruiser or frontliner who is always swinging, so stacks accumulate without spending extra casts. This is elegant design. Your team's normal attacks are now building towards the 3-stack sheep trigger from Curse of the Wall. In practice, your open looks like this: Somna sleeps the field, your nearest ally peppers a priority target with autos, the target wakes with a stack, picks up another stack on the next hit, and when Somna fires Curse of the Wall, they pop into a sheep right when your team wants to strike. It's a scripted pick created by a passive buff and a proactive ultimate. That's consistency you can plan around. And then there's Silence of the Sheep, the anti-dive tripwire. Lian's conciliation charming the attacker is fantastic when the enemy focuses her, but Somna's passive answers aggression with instant sheep. No, maybe they turn to hit their friend. They're not hitting at all. This matters massively versus physical divers and melee bruisers. Drowsiness has already reduced their physical bite, and their ability to cut armor via penetration under blessing, and now they're wool for a few seconds in your danger zone. That is one of the most punishing counter-punches in the game. Let's compare their damage contribution honestly. Lian's hypnotic ball and wandering lights provide steady chip, they help soften the front line and keep pressure. But Somna's kit amplifies your team's damage by controlling the target order, turning off the scariest member at key moments. Sleep creates clean setup windows. Sheep guarantees a clean focus window. And because drowsiness lives after sleep ends, you're carrying a debuff budget forward, each skirmish gets easier as stacks and sheep cycles keep landing. In long fights, that ramp matters more than any one charm window. How about team synergy? Lian loves lineups that invite hits so conciliation pops, durable frontliners who bait aggression, and steady sources of O that keep enemies busy while enchantment buys a breather. She's still excellent when you expect lots of direct damage into your team. Warriors marksmen look foolish when they swing, and immediately charm themselves. But she's more situational when the enemy is spell heavy or when your Ono constantly breaks her charm. Somna, meanwhile, fits everywhere because her control is both proactive and forgiving. Lullaby Veil doesn't care if the enemy is physical or magical, they all sleep. Drowsy Blessing works in any comp where your nearest ally attacks frequently, which is most comps. Curse of the Wool gives you a real pick tool in team fights, a way to say that one doesn't get to play right now. And Silence of the Sheep gives your team a safety net against all-ins. Want to layer hard control? Pair Somna with allies who stun or freeze, it's very hard for an enemy to break through sleep into more control while also managing drowsiness stacks. Want to play for damage windows? Simply time your burst to land during sheep, when the target cannot respond and your team doesn't risk waking a charm. Somna's control doesn't conflict with your damage, it creates it. Now, matchups. Against physical carry teams, the jump in, auto attack, armor shred crews, both heroes are viable, but Somna is brutal. Drowsiness quietly shrinks their numbers, less physical damage, less armor penetration under blessing, and Silence of the Sheep flips their opener into a stall. If they keep trying to brute force, you keep giving them wool. Lian still does good work here. A life charm can make an assassin implode their own backline, but Somna gets you 2 lines of defense, sleep sheep, and a stacking debuff economy in between. The longer the fight, the more Somna tilts it. Against mage teams, Lian's value drops, charm doesn't punish burst spells the same way, and Strayo can constantly peel charm off targets. Somna stays consistent. She sleeps casters before the window, lets your team step in, and forces spell teams to play on your rhythm. Even if a mage wakes early, you pocket a drowsiness stack and come back for more. Let's talk reliability. Lian's best games feel amazing, everything lines up, the charm sticks, and the enemy self-destructs. But she's also at the mercy of random chip damage breaking charm early, or of teams that don't feed her conciliation procs. Somna's control, by contrast, is schedule-able. Sleep on your timing. Blessing on your nearest ally to stack drowsiness without extra actions. Sheep on 3 stacks, guaranteed if you manage your target. And a passive that doesn't care about the attacker's plan, hit Somna, become sheep. That's why Somna feels like an upgraded control package, fewer oops, charm broke moments, more we planned that sheep and got it. A quick note on positioning and micro with Somna, because this is how you maximize her kit. Remember that Drowsy Blessing buffs the nearest ally to apply stacks on basics. Place Somna adjacent to an ally who hits often and stays up, someone durable enough to keep swinging through the mid-fight. You're not fishing for one lucky sheep, you're building to reliable sheep triggers as the fight unfolds. Also, think about target priority. If the enemy has one unit you absolutely must shut down, open with Lullaby Veil, soft tag them with autos to build stacks, and line Curse of the Wall when they're at 2 stacks, so your cast tips them to 3. Your team should dump damage during the sheep. Clean, safe, deadly. Where does Lian still earn a slot? When you expect the enemy to overcommit into your front, Lian's Conciliation can turn their opener into instant chaos, and Enchantment can buy massive time for slower squads. If your comp frequently avoids clipping charmed enemies with Stray O, her charm duration feels long and punishing. She's also straightforward to play, you don't have to manage stacks, you just punish hits. For newer players or very specific anti-physical matchups, Lian remains a solid, accessible control choice. But in the modern meta, with faster rotations and mixed damage squads, Somna is simply more complete. Proactive silence from Lullaby Veil. Passive stacking pressure via Drowsy Blessing. A true hard disable with Curse of the Wool at 3 stacks. And a built-in anti-dive trap with Silence of the Sheep that punishes anyone who dares hit her. Sleep controls the script. Drowsiness rewrites the next scene. Sheep ends the act. Let's finish with a clear verdict you can use in your roster planning. If you need control that you can drop into any lineup and pilot through any matchup, choose Somna. She controls time with sleep, controls rolls with sheep, and controls damage with drowsiness. She's flexible, she scales into long fights, and she makes your team's damage cleaner and safer. Lian is still viable, especially against reckless physical teams who insist on hitting into her, but Somna gives you more tools, more consistency, and more winning lines. In short, Somna doesn't just replace Lian, she evolves the role. What do you think, Guardians? Are you swapping Lian out for Somna, or are you running both in different comps? Tell me your best Somna sheep moments and your wildest Lian charm flips in the comments, I want to hear them. If this breakdown helped, drop a like, subscribe, and ring that bell so you never miss the next deep dive. Stay tuned, stay sharp, and as always, salute and friendship.